Sony and its next-gen remasters were recently on a big streak. If you ignore all the bitching, these games were pretty decent ports. Plus, the actual improvements are definitely there. It's hardly surprising that another title has had its go at it recently. Until Dawn originally released on the PlayStation 4 back in 2015. It was definitely one for the horror genre, but made by Supermassive Games, who since then made quite a name. Their specialty never really changed, delivering highly cinematic, interactive movie kind of video games, with strong emphasis on diverse story through player choices. It won't surprise you by now that Until Dawn Remaster for the PlayStation 5 has underperformed a lot. And there's a lot of good reasons for it that I will gently push through. But before I do, I want to sort of take you to the conclusion of this video. None of these things are the reason for this beloved title going from this to this. The real problem is much simpler, understandable, and honestly, a little disappointing. The remaster has delivered on several points. Just from watching the initial trailer, you can see improved graphics, including lighting and advanced ray tracing. Character models and overall graphical overhaul has been extensive. Then there's the entire storyline, which has a total of 22 different choices. And then a few different endings that largely depend on which characters survive. The remaster not only added a few more endings, but also reworked the way to get them. There's also been some touch up on the soundtrack and overall sound quality. Finally, while the remaster was aimed at PlayStation 5, the entire game was built for high-end PC machines, which means that the game should be running very well as long as you have the hardware. And honestly, the remaster did deliver on it. There were definitely improvements, and with them also came a lot of criticism. As for the technical performance, most players instantly reported incredibly poor optimization quality, from very low and unstable frame rate to bugs that halt progress and crashing on most devices. And even though the remaster did really improve on graphical side, there's been many instances where the quality actually looked worse compared to the 2015 original. Many has complained about the strange way the remaster opted to change a lot of the score, to quote, randomly adding new songs to initially music-less scenes, removing music where it used to be, and removing all of the original music. And then there's the strange choice to switch from the original static camera angles to over-the-shoulder third-person gameplay. This change, while seemingly minuscule, has riled up the fan base the most, since the camera work in Until Dawn has been one of the biggest groundbreaking moves, showing what can be done with modern-looking game while maintaining very old aesthetic of games like Silent Hill or Resident Evil, which feature fixed camera angles out of technological necessity. Moreover, the apparently improved lighting actually makes many players feel like the game is way too bright, creating the illusion that the story is actually not happening during the night time at all, but maybe a late afternoon. All of these issues seem just insane on the face of it. It almost doesn't make sense. How could something like that go so wrong so quickly? The premise and initial case was promising. The remaster delivered on most things, but almost everything was done poorly and without substance. The marketing was apparently poor enough that player count on both PlayStation 5 and PC combined only barely reached 4 digits. Initially, a possible cause of this was that this remaster or remake is not made by Supermassive Games, but Ballistic Moon. That is because Sony owns the Until Dawn IP and Supermassive was only a contractor developer. However, Ballistic Moon is a company created by former Supermassive developers. It is unclear just how many original devs entered this project, but if you thought the remaster was handled by some corporate third party, it doesn't appear so. All of this points to a clear list of problems. Simply, this game has become a shadow of the undefeated original, and this attempt at revival for the next generation only showed people how much better the game used to be. Like I said though, none of these problems with the Until Dawn remaster really matter. Throughout looking at the scores and the complaints of various people and sources, there's one thing that is being repeated often. The game is just not worth $70. This is nothing new and certainly not something that needs a mouthwash in this video. People hate this number, thanks to titles like Call of Duty and Battlefield that tried pushing this idea first. $70 price tags are associated with mediocrity, but not because the product is actually bad, but because it's not worth the extra $10. Sony is adamant that the game deserves a $10 increase as they claim it to actually be more of a remake. In terms of other companies, this game has reached the quadruple A status, which translates to higher price tag for higher game experience. You don't expect nothing but flawless gameplay with minimal to no bugs and peak performance. You expect not only the same feeling you got from the original game, but now you're paying $10 for an enhanced version of it. This is the real issue with the game. Paying above premium price for below average product, which again has been a trend in the recent years. As far as the actual game goes, it doesn't seem to be anything more troubling than couple patches and the biggest problem should be gone. Then there is the issue of the soundtrack and things like inappropriate lighting. No doubt fixable, but expensive issues to deal with. It is a big question right now if Ballistic Moon even dares to touch the remaster anymore. From what we could only assume would rise up a standalone game, for the latest generation of gamers, we got a dusted old book with a cheap plastic cover sold as a fresh new idea. And delivering anything less than a product that is better than all of these games will simply not do. All the issues this game has are just a little bit of scar tissue masquerading as the main event. If Sony were not so hungry to release twice something that was perfectly fine as it was, this 10-year-old classic could have rested peacefully as a simple port for the next gen for a fair price of $29.99.